Hello y'all, this is Old School RuneScape, a MMORPG released in 2013 by Jagex. What separates this game from the other RuneScape is that it is originally a game built from August 2007. In this video, we will be playing through Tutorial Island, which is the place where new players go when they start the game. I am playing this on the Steam client, and we are connecting to the server right now. Once we start the game, we're going to be greeted with a display name screen, and so we got to pick a name for ourselves. I'm going to try Lemonade and see what happens. I hope it isn't taken. If it is, I'm going to have to get creative. The display name I wanted is not available, and the game has recommended us some suggestions. Let's go with 52 Dagger 1597. Though I'm not sure if I like that one, and may have to think of something else. I came up with some display name called OSRS, and after we set our display name, we're going to be thrown into the character creator. My customization is done. My character has clothes vaguely resembling a tuxedo as well as a cyan beard and mohawk. The game is going to start instructing us now on things like the flashing yellow arrow acting as an objective marker and camera controls. With that out of the way, the next thing we're supposed to do is talk to a guy named the Gillinor Guide. A couple things we'll do before we speak to the man in the red beret. We'll figure out what the controls are and how we will interact with objects in the world around us. We have learned all the basic fundamentals, navigation-wise anyway, and the only thing left to do now is read the chat box and speak with the guide. Let's click on the NPC and he's going to greet us. Then he tells us we have already learned the quote, "First thing needed to succeed in this world." After that, he's going to ask us how much experience we have with old school RuneScape, and when that comes up, we're going to be presented with 3 choices, and we're going to go with the first one, which is I am brand new. This is my first time here. And then we're going to be guided through the settings menu, which is flashing over to the right when we get to that point in the conversation. This is where the settings are, as you could have probably guessed. And then we're going to see that pop up once we click on it, and you can see all the settings up close. Once we're done with the settings, we'll talk to the guide again. He tells us we are making good progress and we must go meet with our first instructor. So we're going to head out the front door of his house, and then once we do that, we're supposed to go down some steps and follow the path to the next area. I'm going to move the camera around just so you can see what's going on from a different perspective. There is the person of interest off in the distance. We're going to run over to them to begin a conversation. I gotta say the mouse is used a lot in this game, but anyway, back on topic. This is the survival expert, and she is going to teach us how to fish. We're supposed to catch some shrimp, and to accomplish that, we're given a small fishing net. Then we'll open up our inventory for the first time, and then a yellow arrow comes up over the spot where we're supposed to fish. Place the cursor over the spot and click, and then we sit back and wait for our character to catch some shrimp. And oh, that didn't take long at all. We gained XP by doing this, and now we can see our skill and experience menu. There is quite a few skills, and the higher they go, the more content you will unlock. Once we're through here, we will continue by talking to the survival expert. The survival expert is going to tell us about 2 skills called firemaking and woodcutting, which will be useful for cooking the shrimp we just caught. We are given a bronze axe and a tinder box, and we're told to cut down a tree in order to get the logs for the fire. There is a oak tree, but we can't cut that because we aren't a high enough wood cutting level. We're going to have to settle for a smaller tree in order to get our much needed logs. Once we start chopping the tree, all we got to do is sit back and wait. With the freshly cut logs in our inventory, we will click on the tinderbox to highlight it, then click on the logs, and that will start a fire. There is a fire lighting animation that will take a few seconds, but once we have the dream of many a caveman burning bright, we are ready to cook. To do that, we are going to click on the shrimp to highlight it, then click on the fire. Once our shrimp are cooked, that will take a couple of seconds. We can either move on or go back to the instructor for a recap. I don't need to be told how to do that again, so I'm going to click on this fence here and follow this path down to a door. I'm not going to take the long way around. In fact, I'm just going to run down to the door, and once we are inside the building, we are supposed to talk to this chef who is going to teach us more about the art of cooking. This guy has a chef hat, so he must mean business. He tells us he is the master chef, and he will show us how to cook food truly fit for a king. Our character tells him we just learned how to cook from the survival expert, and in response, he just sorts of laughs and hands us some flour and water. We will use this to make bread, and to start things off, we will make dough by highlighting the flour, then clicking on the water to combine the items. The dough will then be placed into the range next to us. Let's bake ourselves some bread. After a few seconds at the range, the dough will transform into a loaf of bread. As more experience is gained, you can cook more food stuff like pies and cakes. We are done here though, so let's head to the next area. We're going to exit through this door and the game is going to tell us how the running mechanic works. Basically, it is a very fast way of getting around, obviously, but doing it causes your character to lose energy the more you move. The running icon is the boot in the top right corner of the screen. When it is yellow, it means you're in running mode. With that out of the way, let's continue along this path and meet our next guide. We have almost arrived to our next objective, and it's apparently inside of a building. We'll enter into it through a door. It looks very cozy, I will say. Anyway, what we're going to do is talk to the quest guide NPC, who has a yellow flashing arrow over his head. We can't stand around forever, so let's get this conversation going. He hands us our quest journal, which is where all the quests are listed. When we talk to him again, he will tell us more about it, such as if the quests are red, it means they haven't been started yet. When a quest has been started, it will turn to yellow, and when it is completed, it will change to green. If you click on a quest, it will display more information, such as requirements and instructions. Then he tells us that quest starting points can be found by looking at the minimap for the right icon. Quest icons in particular are these blue looking star things in a gray circle. The final thing he will say is that quests can vary from basic things to fighting dragons, and that rewards can be stuff like unlocking new areas or even weapons. That's all he has to say, and we can mark this location off as complete. He will offer a recap lesson, but I'm going to say no to that like we did for all the other ones. Here's a possible surprise that may blow your mind. Instead of going through a door to get to our next instructor, we got to go down a ladder into a cave. Now that we're down here, I got to look for someone who would teach us how to mine and how to make weapons. I have found the shirtless man I must speak to. He asks for our name. The character says Iavarish, and he tells us his name. This greeting leads into a discussion about mining. He will give us a bronze pickaxe, and off we go to beat up some rocks. We're going to mine some tin, and if you want to, you can right-click on a rock and prospect it to see what it is. Though I'm not going to do that because almighty yellow arrow is telling us where it's at, and we're going to begin the process by clicking on the rock. Then we'll wait for the animation to play. Once it ends, you will get some ore in your inventory. We got to get some copper ore too, so let's mine for that. And once we have both of the ores, the game will tell us we need to make a bronze bar by clicking on the indicated furnace. I will move the camera so you can see that. We got to run over there and get to it, and once we get there, obviously we got to click on it. And so once we have the bar, we're going to turn around and try talking to the mining instructor for our next step. We tell him we got the bar. He tells us how we can make it into a weapon. To do that, we will need a hammer and an anvil. He gave us a hammer, and some anvils are just sitting nearby, so let's get to it. What we're going to do is make a dagger, and that will cost us the 1 bar we just took out of the furnace. I'm just going to say the combat tutorial has to be next or something. I can feel it. The dagger will be ready to go after a few seconds of hitting the anvil. The next thing we're supposed to do is pass through a gate shown by the arrow. I may have to move the camera slightly to see that. We will go through the gate, and in this section we're supposed to learn about melee and range combat. As usual, we got to talk to the guy for that. He's the one with the sword and the fancy shield. If we examine the intimidating instructor, it says he is an expert on all forms of combat. When we talk to him and attempt to greet him, he says he doesn't care what our name is and that he is the greatest swordsman alive. The first thing we will learn is how to wield weapons, and to do that we are given a new interface. We will get to that by clicking on the icon of a man and then a helmet and shield symbol. Here we can see what items we are wearing, our weight, and all of our stats. We're told our, quote, little butter knife won't protect us much, and he gives us a bronze sword and wooden shield. Let's go and unequip our bronze dagger and switch it out with our new sword and shield combo. After we equipped our gear, we will be able to see our combat interface by pressing on the crossed swords icon. There are quite a few attack styles. Each style will give us different types of experience. Other than that, different monsters are weak to specific attack styles. I'm just going to leave the style on stab, then go into this gate and enter the rat pit. Man, if you just look at it, there are so many rats. To attack a rat, all we got to do is click on it. This will cause us to walk over to it and start hitting it. Combat is underway thanks to the yellow arrow. Once the fighting has begun, all we got to do is sit back and wait since the character will do everything. And with that, we have basically learned the fundamentals of melee combat in old school RuneScape. We tell Swordman we got our first kill, and he says the next thing we will be taught is ranged combat. This means we won't have to enter the pit and fight the rats this time up close. He hands us a short bow and some bronze arrows. To use these items, we will have to unequip our sword and shield and equip our ranging gear. Everything is ready. Now let's find some unfortunate mobile target to click on and then just start firing away like there's no tomorrow. The giant rats really can't catch a break, can they? It took some time, but we finally got the enemy down to low HP, and there we go. We killed another monster, which is the official term here for an attackable character that isn't player controlled. Anywho, all of our tasks are completed, so let's leave this place. Goodbye, cave. I will miss you and your aggressive rats. One ladder later, and we're back above ground. We're going to learn about banking, so let's run into this fine bank establishment right next to the ladder we climbed up, and click on the banker with the yellow arrow on top of his head to learn how this process works. One click later, and we can see our bank. You can deposit stuff into here from your inventory by clicking on the object, and then withdraw it from the bank the same way. Moving on, we can't forget about the polling booth. OSRS, aka Old School RuneScape, is very much a game tied around its community, and a lot of features to the game are brought forward to be voted on before they are added. Poll booths can be found all over the world. Voting is, as of recording, open to members only with a total skill level of 300, and apparently a minimum of 25 total hours of playtime is needed to participate. An update must gain 75% support in order to pass. A flag will be up above the booth when you're invited to vote, and these polls in of themselves happen periodically. With polls explained, let's move on to another glorious door. No, it's not the entrance, it's in fact one of these side doors. In this room is the account guide, and he will tell us about account management and how that works. This conversation will unlock a new interface where we can see account related things like upgrade status, linked email, or the ability to change the name of our character. The next thing he speaks to us about is membership and how everyone starts off free to play by default on free worlds, but if you so desire, you can buy membership to get on members worlds to access extra skills, areas, quests, and more. A world is basically a server that can hold a max of 2,000 players, and you can swap worlds by using the world switcher in the logout menu. We are also told about bonds, which act as a way to redeem membership, and these bonds can be traded to other players. This means you can acquire membership without paying any real money. Then we reach the subject of linking emails, which when done will allow us to play on other platforms. After that is the topic of changing names, which is members only, and finally he talks about some links at the bottom of the menu, which may be useful. And with that last statement, we are finished here with this building, and this account management guide has done all he can to tell us about account management and how worlds work and how memberships work and how bonds function and whatnot. We take a little jog down through this path, and we will make our way to a chapel and go inside of it. What we're going to do when we reach the chapel is learn about the prayer skill, and we'll begin this by talking to the monk walking around behind us. The individual with the tonsure is named Brother Brace, and he will teach us the basics of prayer. With this conversation, we have unlocked our character's prayer menu. Prayers are able to help a lot in combat. To activate one, all you have to do is click on it, then click on it again to deactivate it. Prayers that are active will drain prayer points, which can be recharged by using an altar or other holy spots. A lot of enemies will drop bones when defeated. If you pick them up and click on them in your inventory, you will bury them and gain prayer experience. This guy is also the community officer, so he feels obliged to tell us about the friends and ignore list, which can be reached by clicking on the smiling face icon. The two lists can be swapped by clicking on the icon in the top right corner of the menu. The next lesson we receive is how to add people to the friends and ignore list. You can put people on either list by clicking the add button and typing their name into the box that comes up. People are removed from the list the same way. If a person is put on the ignore list, they will not be able to talk to you or be able to send any kind of message to you. The friends list shows the online status of your friends. Red is offline, green is online and in the same world. Yellow is online but on a different world. With that over with, a message has come up saying we are almost done with Tutorial Island. Exiting the chapel, we go down what I presume to be our final path. which will lead us to the wizard's house. I'm going to make sure to go somewhat slowly down this route and take in the scenery because we won't be on this isle much longer. He's not really a guide, but I might as well talk to him anyway. This is the Iron Man tutor who will tell us about Iron Man mode. Playing as an Iron Man is like a challenge where you do everything by yourself. You can't trade, you can't PvP, can't do most group minigames, and a lot of other group activities. There are different levels of Iron Man. One can choose to make the challenge even more difficult. I won't do it, but this is the only chance you have to become an Iron Man, and after leaving this place, you can only switch restrictions downward, not upward. Let's talk to the man with the wizard hat. He will teach us about magic. We unlock our final menu, the magic menu, where all spells can be found. Currently the menu is filtered to show only the spells the character has the magic level for, but this can be changed later. Let's continue with Magic 101. The instructor says we only have one offensive spell called Wind Strike currently, and he wants us to use it on a chicken. For this task, he gives us air runes and mine runes. All spells in this game require runes to be cast. Now, to use the spell, I will click it, then click on a chicken, and that will cast it. So we'll use that on a chicken, and after it hits the target, we unfortunately cannot use it again. On the bright side, we are almost done with the tutorial. All we gotta do is talk to the instructor, and he will teleport us to the town of Lumbridge on the mainland. The Magic Man will give us runes when we leave, because he is feeling nice. We can leave right now, or say no for the time being. Let's go with the latter. Let's look at the map real quick. Take in the entirety of Tutorial Island, because unless anything big changes, there is a good chance you will never return to this place unless you make a new account for this game. Let's get our teleport from the magic instructor and go to the big mainland. Once we get there, we will be greeted by a guy named Adventurer John. What's his deal, you may ask? It's adventure paths, which are task systems intended to aid new players. These paths will give you low-level rewards if you complete them. To be eligible, oh, I got a Steam achievement, that's nice. To be eligible for these adventure paths, you must say to the Gilnord guide at the very beginning of Tutorial Island that you are either a new player or are a player that played in the past, but not recently. If you don't say that, you probably will not be able to see this guy at all, and he will just be invisible to your entire existence. We're going to end it here. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Have an awesome day. I'll see you later. Bye.